If you're thinking about buying a car, timing matters more than you might think, and there's a looming deadline that should influence your thinking. My dad sold cars for 40 plus years. We're going to break down the best time to buy a new and used car. And Pops, we got to talk about the fact that EV tax credits are ending September 30th. That's going to influence things as well. But before we dig in, explain to us, Dad, high level, why does timing matter when it comes time to purchase a new or used vehicle?
Well, the reason timing is so important is at the end of every month, dealerships are trying to hit sales objectives that the manufacturer has placed for them, or even if they're just dealership objectives that the dealership has placed on it. Salespeople want to hit sales goals to earn bonuses. So as we get to the close of every month, the anxiety level, the motivational factors all kick in to try and make extra car deals so that goals can be met and goals can be hit. But the real reality is, Zach, the absolute best time to buy a new or used car is when you don't need one.
We're going to
But
set
that's
that
a different story.
Yeah, we're going to set that aside for this video, Pops. Of course, if you absolutely need to do anything and you're about to negotiate, you're probably going to lose some of your leverage. But let's stick to the stats here, Dad. Let's stick
Yes.
to the facts. The reality is that end of each month, to your point, there are sales quotas that these manufacturers have set for their dealers or internally that the dealerships have set for themselves. And so that can incentivize them to make better deals for customers because they just need to move an extra unit or two to hit some sort of monetary benefit. There's also like inventory changeover and things like that. I mean, you could maybe speak to this better than anyone else. Like you have an area representative who's trying to sell you new cars that you need to have on your lot. And so that can be an incentive at any given month or quarter to try and move the metal. And then obviously that end of year, that's where we see a big upswing in activity in the auto industry. End of year is typically when kind of everything compounds. It's like the end of the month, the end of the quarter, and the end of the year all become this like big moment where you can get extra deals, extra good deals and things like that.
Typically, there's even more money set aside by the manufacturers, marketing money, incentive money to help both customers and dealerships be able to reach sales goals. So the end of the year is a confluence of everything that gets built into the car business. It is the perfect storm. Don't be surprised if Mark Wahlberg's there and George Clooney's there when you go, because I'm telling you, things can get hectic, they can get crazy, and the deals can be outstanding at the end of the year.
There's also kind of an idea to clear out the prior model year. You've told me stories of dealership groups that you've worked for that said, hey, I don't want any 2022s going into 2023, or obviously in our case now 2025s going into 2026. So I think that's a factor in this as well, Dad, for timing with the end of the years. Some of these automakers, some of these dealership groups, they don't want to have aging inventory going into the new year.
One of the things working for the Penske organization when I worked for them is Mr. Penske did not want the dealership to have, since we're going into 2026, he didn't want us to have any 2025 new vehicles remaining in our inventory at the end of the day on December 31st. So I know when I worked for the Penske organization, I would start planning out in October how we were going to relieve ourselves of all of our current model year new car inventory. I didn't want to have to sweat it the last week of the year. I tried to see to it that we were out of those cars by taking aggressive deals through all of October, November, and halfway through December. I wanted to be out of them by December 15th. Not only do you have the manufacturers pressing you to sell cars, and your general manager or dealer principal at your dealership, but if you're working for a large publicly traded company, the pressure comes down from the CEO as to what has to happen. And so everybody acts accordingly. I have never seen people more motivated to sell a vehicle, relieve themselves of inventory, as I have the last week of any given year. The week between Christmas and New Year's Eve is typically the busiest week in a dealership that you're going to have all year long.
Now, let's take a moment to talk about something that is incredibly important right now, which is that EV tax credits end September 30th, 2025. So best time to buy a car from a former dealer? Well, Dad, even you'd be saying pick up that EV before September 30th. There's some nuance here that you could get a signed contract and not take delivery before September 30th, but just September 30th is the day that EV tax credits end. And so if you're in the market and contemplating an EV, especially with these automakers, Dad, pushing these EV lease incentives so much, I think that's the one big caveat to all this is do not wait till the end of 2025 to buy or lease, and always lease an EV. Go watch some of our other videos if you need an explanation on that. Do not wait till the end of 2025 to lease your new electric vehicle. Do it before September 30th, correct?
Yes, treat September 30th as December 31st when it comes to an EV. Okay, that is realistically the drop dead date for you to have an ironclad sales agreement that cannot be broken. So that for you to be able to buy an EV and take care of and be able to utilize the federal tax credits that are associated with EVs. So don't go in on October 1st and say, well, can't you backdate that? They call that fraud. And that is a crime in this country, believe it or not. So you need to act by September 30th if you're seriously considering an EV.
Now, if you're in the market for a used vehicle, you don't have to be as worried about end of month, end of quarter, end of year. That being said, the dealership may have their own incentives and goals in-house, so they could still be willing to make a shorter deal, a less profitable deal for themselves at the end of the month, end of quarter, or
Yeah.
at the end of the year. And like you said earlier, Dad, there's just a frenzy at the end of the year. So I think you could probably share some stories of even kind of bad used car deals that you sold customers that you didn't make a lot of money as the dealer, but the customer got a great deal, just kind of getting caught up in that frenzy and in that pandemonium. But that being said, used cars are a little more seasonality. Like you don't want to be necessarily in the market to buy a used car during tax return season, the spring season, because that's when prices get inflated. Other times during the year, that's when you have a better opportunity in the used car market.
Oh, absolutely. The motivation on used cars isn't quite the same as it is for new cars towards the end of a month or the end of the year, but it can be for the salesperson who's trying to hit their individual sales goals in order to attain a bonus. So,
All right, so a quick action plan if you've made it this far into the video. 4 steps. Step 1, decide if you're buying a new or used vehicle. Step 2, if you're purchasing an electric vehicle or leasing an electric vehicle, make sure you move before September, the end of September. Step 3, if you're looking at a non-electric vehicle, time it up for the end of the month or end of the quarter, or we're getting close, folks, to the end of the year. So if you can, wait till then. And step 4, use the tools back at CarEdge.com to help you benchmark and see what type of deal you should be able to get as compared to other folks in our community. Pops, for all those people that watch this video, if they found it helpful, they should subscribe. They should check out our free guides back at caredge.com. And obviously, we are here to help as much as we can. Appreciate your insights as always.
just remember, timing is everything in life.